Well, we've talked about one of the greatest of all time. Now let's talk about some of the worst of today. Edmonton Oilers losing again to the Winnipeg Jets in overtime, extending the losing streak to 11. What do you think, Bill? Is it gun in the fifth time for Dallas Eakins or what?
Oh, I don't know. I feel badly for Dallas. He never was an NHL coach. Dallas Eakins was the beneficiary of a Toronto media that fawned all over him. Dallas was, he's relatively articulate. He knows his hockey. He coached a Marley team that was loaded with veteran players, and it was interpreted by members of the media, some, not all, how many covered the Marlies, but by the time it was over, he was the #1 coaching candidate in the market. And he wasn't. But Edmonton fell for it. Hook, line, and sinker. And I remember the press conference when it happened, and I remember Dallas Eakins saying, well, I'm this, I'm that, I'm that, I'm this, predominantly I. And he said, I can only guarantee you one thing. No NHL team will ever outwork my team. Now you think of that statement in its context. I'm telling you, other 29 coaches, that coaching is the one thing that can help a team's work ethic. In other words, your discipline, your communication, your ability to convey meaningful messages. I will do it better than 29 of you. The only commonality is I've never coached in the NHL before, and you were here last year. So insults by the dozen, not realizing what he said and how he said it. And I said to myself, I said, self, good luck to you. Good luck to you. And guess what? He has been an unmitigated disaster. He has been a failure. And I remember being on an Edmonton radio station, and the guy, Bob, what the hell was his name? He said, Coach Eakins appears to be a wee bit arrogant. I said, a wee bit arrogant? Is a 15-pound robin fat? This guy personifies arrogance, and you can tell by the way the players are talking now, and they've been wanting to say this for years, without mentioning his name. We're making the same mistakes as we made last year. Now, I don't care what sport you're in, what team sport you're in, but if you're making the same mistakes repeatedly over a year's time, then you ain't getting any coaching.
Yeah.
And that's, now, having said that, they've had 5 coaches in Edmonton over the past 6 years or 5 years.
Right.
And they fired all of them in one way or another. So they're embarrassed to even consider that alternative. But really that's the only option, because Mr. Cates wants to keep the real problem under his own control, and that is Kevin Lowe and Craig McTavish. They have to accept as much of the responsibility as Dallas Eakins. They hired him, and Kevin in particular, and I've known Kevin since he was a kid from Lachine, Quebec, and was drafted first by the Edmonton Oilers, and just a wonderful guy. And I wish that I didn't have to say this, but if I'm doing a surveillance on his job contribution to the Edmonton Oilers, he has had about 8 to 10 years too many in there. Got change for the sake of change, and the results therein, it's well overdue. And I don't know what the people of Edmonton are going to do, how long they're going to put up with it. There's a new building coming. There's a lot of strings attached to this whole ball of knitting. And it's fire the coach, make McTavish coach. He's coached before, and he's coached well. And he brought in Craig, from Peterborough, Craig Ramsey, and let him be his assistant. Away you go, because they're going to fire Eakins and
is it?
Keith. Oh boy, oh boy. Keith coached us.
He coached with the Leafs, yeah. Keith, what is this?
Acton?
Yeah, Keith Acton. It was perpetually Pat Quinn's assistant.
Yeah, good guy.
Yeah.
But he's Eakins' boy. He's going to get fired.
You know, when you mentioned about the outwork, one of the stories that was consistently written about Dallas Eakins when he was here, was about how he was just he's into ultimate fitness. Like you talked about CrossFit.
Oh yes,
This guy was into abnormal feats of superhuman elements of doing like double marathons and whatnot. And I think that's what he was talking about when he said out works, because he was so much into fitness. He was going to make sure that his players were at the ultimate level of fitness to just be like him. I think that's what he was talking about without outworking every other team. However,
am I not right, Perry, in saying that when you say that, you have automatically assumed that you have the capacity to have your 23 players work harder than any other coach in the NHL? What he does have is he has a fitness level that exceeds any of the other 30 coaches in the NHL. But I just felt that, like, any coach that heard that would just say, who does this guy think he is?
Mm-hmm. I've never understood, though, and Bill, you can help me out with this. A new coach has come in there. Is he supposed to just say, you know, we're going to really work hard and we're going to try and be better, or does he come out with, we're going to come out with all these big fancy systems, or we're going to get in the playoffs? Like, what is that new coach supposed to say when he has his first introductory press conference? Because that sets the tone going forward of, is this guy going to be flash? Is he going to be dull? Is he going to be like, yeah, and I don't know, Bill, when you're the part of the managing the hiring of that, is he told what to say beforehand, or is he just let him go?
No, I think they let him go. Dallas is pretty articulate, but he could have said, I hope that my team will work as hard as every other team in the NHL. That produces the same effect as saying, my team will not be outworked by a single team in the NHL. That's the wrong way to do it, the wrong way to say it, and you know he doesn't have what it takes to be a good coach, because he doesn't give a damn about who he tramps on. And now he's got a team that won't play for him. And they're not that good either. I've read Mark Spector's piece. I don't know if you had a chance to read it, in sportsnet.ca. But he's been covering the Oilers for 25 years. And they had another kid named Willis, Jonathan Willis, write a piece about their failure to develop young players. And I thought, uh-oh, they're getting Spector off the hook because they don't want him to have to insult the group that he has obviously befriended or familiar with over the 25 years. Well, I read it last night. He gave it to them all, and they all should be fired. And he said, as much as I regret having to say this, because I consider them my friends, I still have to report as I should, and all of them should be replaced.